Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the dining room and Scribal via video with Camille. Hooray! Um, Hopefully everybody had a good couple weeks. There's a lot that happened. The SCA turned 55. Hooray! Happy birthday, SCA, AS55. Here we are. Penzic got postponed. Great Northeastern War got postponed. So all of that is terrible. Hello, who is Medicaz? I don't recognize you. Welcome. Um, yeah, and spring is actually here. There's green things happening outside my windows, and we're supposed to get snow on Saturday morning, so that'll be fun. But yeah. Oh, hello! Hooray! Welcome. Good to see you. Yeah. So happy spring, happy AS55, happy Thursday. Here we are. So we'll pick up from where we left off 2 weeks ago with our gold leaf, our mid-period Italian, late Italian acanthus, and an embossed gold leaf background. This is the one I did that has 2 layers of leaf on it that we gilded last session. And just for fun, I played with the white gold leaf that is interesting to use, and I don't use it anymore because instead of staying silver colored, it turns yellow gold. So not super great, but I did this last night, and for the most part, the mini-autumn was still usable. This little area right here, don't know how well that goes through video, didn't pick up all the gold. So 2 weeks on, mini-autumn is still viable, but not great. So interesting experiment there. We'll set that aside. So for tonight, we will start on, we're playing with the focus. We'll start on getting the acanthus leaves. They're sort of weird acanthus leaves, but they are acanthus in the foreground of our gold. Hi, Lisbeth. Welcome. Excellent. So yeah, if you weren't able to gild this 2 weeks ago or between now and then, and we're able to do just gold paint on it, that's awesome. If you weren't able to do any of those, that's okay too. You can paint and then fill in the gold afterward. Just be aware if you do leaf, it may stick to your paint. So that's why we do the gold leaf first. But time for painting. On that, we'll start with the blue because I like starting with blue. So we've got ultramarine light is my preferred blue, and then we'll need a little blob of white because we'll get about 3 shades of each of our colors. Ugh. And the paint doesn't like to open sometimes. There we go. So yeah, three shades of each, a dark, a medium, and a light, and then we'll have a white that goes over the top of everything for white work. So yeah, ultramarine light or a similar blue. Dark green, you can use leaf green too. The green in the source is a little bit deeper than the leaf green typically gets. So if you have dark green, awesome. If you don't, olive green, or not leaf, olive green is a nice one. You can actually add just a little dab of the ultramarine light to this, and it will deepen it without changing the color and making it totally weird. So that's kind of cool. And then there's 2 different shades of red. We've got the geranium for the pure red and the flame red for the kind of orangey red. Chinese red is another one that works pretty well. It's a more of an orangey red. Or mix some yellow ochre in with your geranium and you'll get kind of an orangey red because yellow and red make orange. Yay! Primary colors are fun. Hi, Colette. Welcome. Hooray. So, colors? Start with colors. Yes, colors. We have lots of them. Yeah, and you get my whole paint box here. We got a new camera. Super fun. So hopefully we'll get more of the detail we want and things that aren't super weird.
I can see your dots.
Oh, Josh, he can see the dots. So that's great. Hopefully you can all see the dots too. I don't know if you could see the dots last time, but hopefully you can this time. So that's fun. So we'll squeeze out a little blob of blue. Not seeing accomplished. Excellent. It is good to see you, my friend. Even though we can't really see each other. This is a weird thing. I'm glad you're all here. So a little bit of blue. We'll add a little bit of water to it. Get that mixed in. Off. Our melted ice cream. So there's a couple different ways of doing acanthus and shading and everything, and I've done it different ways, and I don't really have a preferred. But for this one, we're going to try working dark to light. So we'll actually get the background deepest blue color in, and then work our way up. So starting with the source, I'll start at the bottom and work my way up just so we can get, usually I like to do one of these as kind of a test piece before I try and teach you all how to do it, but we're all going to learn together tonight, and that'll be fun. It'll be interesting. We'll be fine. I had a busy week, which is good. Did not fall in the pond. That's important when you're working in ponds and it's still early May and it's cold. Hello! Hooray! You're here. Catherine. Yes, I think. Got my source over here. Start at the bottom and work our way up. Leaves. Yes, we will have many leaves. Get the dark blue started in there. And this too will give us the opportunity to tweak where the edges are and where the borders of color come in. You always can with paint, of course. Now, if you don't like the way it looks, paint over it. We love that. Get that in there. I'm not pushing puddles as much because this is a more defined space than some. So there's a little bit more brush action happening than in other parts of what we've painted. So on the upper blue leaf here, we get more into shadows and different parts of the leaf and how they all fold on top of each other. And these are different acanthus leaves. There's so many different styles of acanthus out there in illumination, and these are definitely more stylized than some. Some you get, they're very leafy looking, and this is more of a swirl Oh, good. Yes. Yeah, I don't know who anybody is because you all have funny names. Well, I know who some of you are. I'm learning. Not only do we have mundane and SC Twitch handles and Discord, and I don't even know. So, but we'll all catch up. We know who we are in real life, and that's important. So we've got this kind of main stem going all the way through. The middle, and so like with all other acanthus and three-dimensional objects, you have the shadowed side and you have the light side, and it's important to determine before you start painting where your light is coming from and where the shadows are. Generally in the medieval illuminations, the light comes from the upper left and is shining this way. So all your shadows are going to be on the downhill side of your light, or underneath other leaves, like this one down here on the bottom. The highlight is actually on the lower side because the upper part of the leaf is shaded by the curl of the leaf on top of it. So paying attention to where all your foliage is, and how the light plays with nature and all of its craziness, is very important. And this leaf is on top of the one below it, so that will have some interesting shading there. We'll do an acanthus session at some point with some more normal looking acanthus leaves. These are just kind of, they're all kind of weird. Because once you figure out acanthus and how they all fit together, it's a glorious thing. There's an aha moment, and it hit me several scrolls ago, and it was a wonderful aha. Got that, and then the downward side of this leaf here. Yeah. All right. So, dark blue, set to go. Kind of play with it back and forth here. A little bit more shadow in there. And what's nice about also starting with your darkest color, your shadows coming straight out of the tube, is that if you ever need to make more shadows, you just squeeze more paint out of the tube. You don't have to try and mix things. I have white gold leaf in my rinse water. That's fun. But there we are. So we'll rinse that and then add just the teeniest bit of white to get our next shade. We'll put some white in there and use that as kind of our, and I'm throwing paint on the floor. Thank you. Mix the white up and little blob, little less blob. Let's see where this gets us for light. It doesn't take much. To lighten, and it takes even less color to add to white if you're looking to darken. That looks pretty good. Right in there. So second layer. A tiny drop of water, in that just a bit. All nice and mixed. And we'll do might need to add more white. I'm not seeing any difference, which is fun. If I were smart when I'm doing this, I'd do a swatch. We've decided not to swatch tonight, and here's what happens when you don't swatch. You have to add more white. And it's fascinating to see how little difference there is. So you want smooth gradations, but you also want obvious gradations. Because if the colors are all too close together, it's all just going to blend into one blob of blue or blob of green. Yeah. So there's a little, now that it's drying, there's a little bit of contrast, but we want more contrast. We'll get some more contrast in there. Just go right over it and into the corner there. And that'll be better. And then up here, get the highlight on your bright spots of the leaf towards the light. Kind of fill in like so. And leave one little spot for the next step down. I think with this particular style, adding the white detail at the end is going to really make it pop even more than some others. The white work always makes it just sparkle. And I think it's going to add even more depth to this particular style. So there's that, and we'll get a few more streaks down in there. And it's all going to look very strange and blocky, I think, until we get the white in there. So we'll add just about as much white again as we did the last time for our lightest blue, maybe adding blue back into white. When we go to do the white work, we'll have an entirely new bucket of white paint here. Yeah, and I think we've hit the limit, the reasonable limit of mixing white into blue. So we'll take a forkful of blue and add it into the white, and now we have a nice lightest blue. And a mid-tone also, if we need it. There's no getting the exact color back for the original mid-tone, but since we're only doing 2 little leaves, I'm not as concerned. If you're doing a whole scroll with all of this, you'll definitely want to mix your colors and keep them all in their own little color well. There we go. Beautiful, lightest blue for our highlight. And it's okay to paint over. You don't want to butt up exactly against the color you put down before. A little bit of overlap and a little bit of blending right on the page is a lovely thing. Makes it look more natural because it is foliage we're planting, or planting. Yes, we're planting it. Painting here. And nature is not regular. I wish she was sometimes, but she'd be awful boring. Feather that in there. Little short strokes of the brush are good. Get your little highlights in there. Keeping, of course, with lightest towards the top and towards the light source, and darkest colors towards the bottom, darkest shades. Hi, Izzo! Hooray! Part 2. I don't think we can use wash on pottery, but I'm willing to try. How are things at the homestead? Did you make it to Canterbury? Maybe. He's disappeared. Oh, Izzo, where'd you go? Oh, there we are. Yay! Excellent. I think Lisbeth is walking to Canterbury too. Hi! All kinds of people here. Province meeting must be over. I scheduled Scribal and then Kim went and scheduled a meeting right on top of it. That's okay. I'll just skip the meeting. I never liked meetings. Hi, Jill. Yes. Okay. I was trying to remember if that was you or Kathy because everybody's everywhere. All right. So there's our really funny looking blue leaves. Well, that's what they did frescoes. Didn't they do frescoes by painting on unfired or wet clay? I don't remember. I haven't done any frescoes ever, so maybe that's our next project. So, the blue is all set. Kind of funny looking and feathery. We can blend that a little bit more. I'm going to move on to the green. I might have to have my lovely assistant rinse out the rinse water if we go to the red, because it'll all just turn into mud. We'll see. Yeah, so the leaves, it's almost counterintuitive sometimes as far as where the highlight goes and where the shadow goes. I've done some and it was exactly backwards of what my brain said was correct, but when you looked at it after it was all done, it's like, oh, yes, that's obviously how it works. So, Acanthus leaves, and Acanthus is a real plant. It looks like a giant thistle, which is kind of neat. You know, each individual leaf has a thick midvein, and the leaf itself is kind of folded. If you think of it like a book you know, an open book, and then you know, the book is open here, and then as the leaf twists, the peak is on the other side. I had a piece of paper that I had to demonstrate this with once, and it was great. So the highlight kind of alternates sides, and like I say, these are weird Acanthus leaves. We'll do another session with actual Acanthus leaves that will make more sense. But this one you get some light and shadow play, even though they're curling around each other in very strange ways. So the green one at the top here, we'll do the shadow first. It is shaded somewhat by the pink leaf at the very top. I may just ramble on about leaves and hopefully something coherent will come out here. So it's this particular leaf is curling, looks like it's curling out to kind of face the viewer. So the shadow is going to be on the lower side, the right side over here. So we'll put the shadow in like so. That's the part that's furthest away and not facing your light source. And then it looks like they've got a crease in it as well. Nice dark green. I love this dark green. It's got kind of a blue undertone to it, which makes everything else match. And then looking at the source again, the bottom leaf is furthest out towards the viewer, so they don't have any sort of shadow on that at all because it's bright. You know, the whole leaf is brightly lit. Now, this leaf here is shading this part of the blue leaf below it, and that's why we've put the dark, you know, the darkest tone kind of in the crease there. But this bit of the blue leaf is on top of the green leaf, but the light's coming from this way, so you're not going to get any shadow on that little bit of the green. Right, that bit. Working our way down, the next green leaf here is folded over itself, so we've got shadow in this area. Making sure I'm not misinterpreting. And it goes up this leaf here because the blue leaf is casting shadow on the one that's outside the confines of our rectangle. So, but this whole area in here is either shaded by the blue leaf on top of it or shaded by the curl of itself, its own little leafiness. So we'll get a nice shadow in there. But yeah, to do when you're doing a more traditional acanthus, you know, if you actually take a book and set it on the table with a light coming from a certain direction, you can see, you know, the side, if it's in a teepee or a tent, you know, orientation, this side of it's going to be brightly lit and this side is going to be dark. If you flip it over, so now it's open like this page, the face of it is going to be in shadow and the light is going to be hitting the right hand leaf. face more directly. So this will be your dark, this will be your light. You flip it over again, here's your light, here's your dark. It makes more sense when you can actually see it and I'm not playing with my hands. Next time, couple sessions, we'll try some Acanthus. Did that make any sense, Claire? You know, my rambling. And then our little curls here. We've got some individual leaves, which will have shadows for themselves. Terrific visuals, excellent and better. Okay, yeah, it's hard to describe without actually doing it. So we'll work on kind of how to do it in a few weeks maybe. All right, so there's all the shadows. Save one streak up the middle here. We're going to be overlapping quite a bit of green, I think, and that's okay. That's what's nice about doing tonals. So now we'll move down to this green leaf here, which is light and shadow all over everything. This bit is being shaded by the pink leaf right above it, once we get the pink leaf in there. And it kind of curls around all the way to its own little demi-leaf there. And there's another swirl, so we've got a little leaf bit here which has a shadow, and that's connected to the leaf bit lobe. I think technically we can call them lobes. I'm a plant lady, I should know these things. And that connects down and shadows in the crease here. It'll all make sense once we get more color in there and get the white in there. And then the final curl. Around the outside and detail there on the inside. Okay. And again, it's okay to go a little bit further than you think you may need, because you can always paint over it. A little bit in there. Finish up with that curl. All right. I think that's all the weird shadows on our funny green leaves. Get some more white in here now. Kind of need more white paint. Aha! More art supplies. Essentials in quarantine, even though I'm not quarantined. Anyway. Nice big blob of white to mix in with the green. Hopefully that will lighten considerably. There we go. Another thing about the dark green is if you have light bristle brushes, it will stain them. So, and generally it seems to be just a stain. It doesn't seem to be anything that will discolor your other paints, but it's nice if you can to have a dedicated brush for like white work, and don't use that same white work brush for also outlining in black or dark brown, because then there goes your dedicated white work brush and you've contaminated potentially the ferrule, and your whites won't be white anymore. So having a dedicated brush just for doing white paint is definitely a recommendation I have. So we'll start with this, and I think we're going to go even lighter because the green in the source, it looks like there's really only two shades of green. There's a dark and a light. You can add a third, but the white work will bring out the lightness of the green, I think. I'm gonna mix a blob of green, and with the white we'll get this lovely mint color, just in case I decide to add a little third accent shade. Yes, this will be a better green. So now it's pretty much fill in your green leaf anywhere where you didn't have shadow with the lighter mintier green. And you can slightly adjust the shadows as you need. Up in there. That's kind of... And there we have a lovely light green acanthus leaf, which is on top of some and underneath others, just like it's supposed to be, we hope. And go right over that darker green. So yeah, that's a nice contrast in shades. The shadow is still definitely shadow, but the lighter green comes out quite nicely. And now down here, fill in our folded acanthus leaf. Get the outline in. And then fill in the middle. There we go. And now this would be the side that is closest to the light. So if there is a spot on here, and there really isn't, they just did, the original scribe just had two shades of green in all this. But we'll do our best to make it a nice bright leaf. Probably could have added a little more white to it still, but there again is where a swatch would have come in really handy. Learn from my example. Don't do as I do, do as I say. Make a swatch. Oh, hi Gwen, you made it, hooray! So you missed the beginning, and you can do it as layering, and I have. It all sort of depends on partially mood, partially the source. This one kind of lends itself better to the paint the shadow, paint the highlight than others. Size too, a larger area like this, it's a little bit easier to kind of do separate chunks of color. On the finer leaves, I will usually start with the medium color and then do the highlight and do the shadow, or do the shadow and then do the highlight, and kind of play back and forth with it. So it all depends, the piece here is, I think, almost twice as large as the manuscript is in reality also. This is a really tiny original manuscript. I haven't done the digging or emailed the museum it's at. I can't even remember which museum it's at. It's on the sheet to find out what the actual size is, because for whatever reason they don't have it listed on the manuscript page, which is strange. But Audrey and I were talking about it, and we are guessing at the most it's like 4 by 5 and inches, probably closer to 3 by 4. So it's wee bitty teeny weeny. So if you were to do it actual size, you may find, starting with a medium color or medium shade and then adding your shadows and details may work better. But when we're working bigger, we have a little bit more flexibility. Oh, I just painted over shadow. It'll be fine. This one's also a little bit more forgiving because of all the white detail that goes on the top. Get that kind of filled in there. Thin the paint just a little. And fill in. We get our nice curly leaf. Right, like so. That'll dry. The white also helps with the opacity of the green. Green is a fairly translucent paint no matter what shade it is, so getting it so that you can't see shadows of the paint under, or the paper underneath, can be frustrating. So yeah, no, I think it'll work here. It's also, the dark green is also a little bit more bluey green than the source material. So depending on how fussy you want to get with your source paint matching your scroll paint, you can play a lot with blending and making your own colors and not going straight out of the tube. But there's nothing wrong with straight out of the tube either. So yeah, I think we're going to just leave that third shade of green I mixed alone. Might go back to it later. Let's see, do we want to do geranium? We'll do flame red. Get the little orangey red ones. We'll use the red half of the palette that's already been dyed in a previous life. I don't know what I did with this scroll, but apparently it had a lot of red in it last time I used this palette. But again, it doesn't seem to transfer into other paint. I scrubbed the palette with a paper towel before using it, and it didn't really, no red came off of it, so I'm going to call it, it's just going to be permanently stained. There's the nice flame red. Turn my rinse water brown, it'll be great. The last of the green out of the brush there. And, whoops. Got my tablet open with the source on it next to me, which is very helpful. As usual, this is a nice one too on the online website. You can zoom in really far and get some really nice detail on these. Sometimes it's almost too much detail and it starts to look, why did they do that? That's kind of gross. But again, it's a little tiny manuscript. So the flame red, straight out of the tube, to me looks like it's a good medium color. So we're gonna make that the medium color. And mix our own darkest with a little bit of geranium. Might be too much geranium, so we'll take half of it away. Put it in its own geranium pile. Let's see if we can get this to match this source a little bit better. Scoop in all kinds of flame over here. Turn it a nice orangey, reddish orange. It's definitely more red. I might just take the geranium that I scooped out and put it right back, because I think it needs it. And it'll darken that up. I do not know what the pigment is. It's whole bean, you know, it's one of the whole bean artist gouache. It does not say on here. It's not cadmium red or anything like that. They might have it listed on the website, but I am not sure. It's more translucent. It's very similar in color to carmine. Carmine has a little bit more of a bluish tone to it, whereas the geranium is closer to a pure red. I had a paintbrush here somewhere. There it is. But I'm not entirely sure what makes geranium geranium. So we're going to see if our lovely custom mixed red behaves itself a little bit better. I think that will work. Oh yes. Start on the shadows on the lower leaf here. And up the outside. So the outside is, because it's connected to this green leaf here, is twisted slightly away from the viewer. This is your open book rather than your tent. So the shadow is going to be on the leading side. Joanberg, is that an Edmund? I think that's an Edmund. Hello. And we have a funny curl in there. Hi, yes, hello. And we've got some more. It's going to be sort of a striped funny leaf, but it's kind of a striped funny leaf anyway. A little bit of a spot there. And one more shadowed bit in here. Make sure we get right up next to the gold. If you've mixed your paint right, it will not actually cling to the gold, which is really helpful. You can get it right up to it and even a little over, and it will just kind of slide off, which is great. Helps if you're having an unsteady hand day. Now we'll get the shadow on that top little mohawk leaf. I'm sure that's a very medieval term, the mohawk leaf. And work our way up the piece. Adding shadows where we need shadows. It's a lower bit. This is kind of a neat curl. This one has here all sorts of interesting leafy bits. And shadows there. Wee cat is awake. Oh, the wee cat has awakened. The yowls of the Siamese. We do pay attention to them, I promise. We do. We will have Siamese entertainment, perhaps. There's the curl there. And we have an inner leaf, like so. This one's going to be fun. We will have, I think, a third shade of this red, even though we had two shades of green. We'll have a third, you know, the dark, the medium, and the light of the flame red here, because our original medieval scribe did, so we'll do what they did. Let's see, there's a curl. Comes up and over like so. There's a leaf that's going to come off, like so. And then we have a little bit that comes and connects there, because that blue is shadowing over the red. Holbein website. Monazo pigment. I have no idea what that is, but that's good to know. Don't lick the scroll. Don't know if it's poisonous or not. Assume it is. No licking the scrolls, no matter how much you want to. Even if the gold is put on with garlic juice. Because that's a thing. Ew, you just, no. That's not how you claim ownership. You claim ownership because your name's on it. That's how you claim ownership. Either the front or the back. But if it's on the back, that means you made it and you gave it away to somebody and they hopefully love and cherish it and hang it on their wall. I need to hang mine on my wall. I have several that need some frames. Quarantine project, except I'm not quarantined, so all these quarantine projects aren't going to happen. All right. There's our shadows in, and we'll go back to the straight out of the tube flame red and get the highlights, or the medium rather, and then we'll mix up a lightest flame and get some highlights in here. And then the leaves will start making shape, taking shape. And again, put right up against the gold as close as you can get. If you happen to be able to go a little bit over, that's nice too. Can also, and I've done this because the brush hand likes to jerk sometimes, if you do get paint on the gold, if you very carefully wet just the corner of a paper towel, you can kind of blot it without also smearing paint all over the scroll you have just painted. Very carefully. The art of fixing mistakes is truly an art. And can only be learned by doing, unfortunately. I mean, you can deliberately screw up and go, okay, now how would I fix it? But sometimes you just don't know until it's an hour before you're leaving for the event and the scroll is still not done and you've just spilled your entire bucket of blue paint all over it. Oh, I've never done that yet. We're not going to start today. That's the hope anyway. Most of the time, it can be fixed. Keep the cat off the table. Okay, there's that one, and get the bottom one in now. Just a little bit. Funny little round curly acanthus leaves. Love them. All right. Here's most of the orangey red in. I found a little spot where we did not snug up against the gold. We'll just get that in there like so. There we go. And one little blob of white so we can get our, let's see. Yeah, we'll go out here. Get our highlight gold. Ah, woo! Yeah, it's interesting. The video, gold on video is a very strange thing. But it's cool. It is cool. I love gold. I love gold leaf. It really finishes, it makes the scroll for me. If I'm doing the gold leaf and it's all shiny, that's happiness. It's also a Scribal secret. If you have not a lot of time to do a scroll and it needs to be impressive, put gold all over it. It's great. A lot of bling for the buck, as it were. We get all the oohs and ahs. Now I've given away our secrets and nobody will know. Everyone will know. So we've got our lightest highlight coral here and kind of start. It's going to be really wet. So if you've mixed your paint and it's a little bit wet, put a minimal amount on the brush and that will help with controlling it. Sometimes one little water drop is too much. Yeah, it is a vibrant red. I love it. It's glowing. It's magnificent. So looking at the source again, we have highlight there because that's an upper facing leaf. And we've got a leaf-shaped leaf here. Yes, also if your paint is a little wet, it becomes a little bit more translucent, so might be going back over some of these, but we'll see. We'll start with one. Highlight down here. All the curls. And up in there. And down through the middle. A nice swirl. What's nice too, I love about the acanthus is, again, they can be fairly forgiving. And you can just sort of let your hand move as a leaf would move in the wind. Watch how we soar. Too soon. Too soon. But once you get the curves down, once you do enough of them, your hand will it will know what to do. Practice. Lots and lots of practice. Okay. One little detail out here. That looks pretty good for the orangey red. And now you can see it's starting to have some depth to its leafiness, which is so cool. I love it when the magic happens. All right, and this one down here is pretty straightforward because it's just one curl of leaf coming up. So we start at the bottom. And this light color too is where we can start getting the shape of what our white work is going to be in the leaves themselves. Let's see, where were we? There's one going up here. And then one blop right in there. So there is the flame red all done and taken care of. And now we'll move on to geranium, which I don't think is really geranium here, but we're going to start with geranium and maybe mix in a little bit of ultramarine because it's sort of a purpley pink. And well, bye Izzo. Thank you for stopping in. It was good to see you. And thank you too. I meant to say this at the beginning of the video and completely got distracted, but I am honored and humbled to have been recognized, I guess, in our ethereal court the last time it happened. That was kind of unexpected, and I'm glad other people are enjoying what we're doing, because we certainly are. Josh is getting back involved. Twig is involved with the SCA again, sort of. So, but it's been a lot of fun, and I don't know who wrote the letter, but thank you. That's very special. Oh, bye, Colette. Thank you for coming. All right. So there's geranium, and it's a nice bright red, and we don't want a nice bright red, we want a purple. So, going back to a little tiny bit of blue, we'll see what happens. We might make mud. I think I made mud. Well, I don't know. Nope, look at that. The tiniest bit of ultramarine and enough geranium. And we have a pretty passable magenta, purple, blue color. And hopefully there's enough here to do all the leaves. I think there is, because that's pretty darn close to what's in the source. Mauve, I think you've got it. It's a lovely mauve. Or mauve, however folks pronounce it. Yeah, that was not expected and very nice. It was yeah. I'm having fun. I'm glad other people are having fun. And learning things, hopefully. We want to come out of this both sane and maybe better artists. We'll see. I can help with one. I don't know about the other. You're on your own for that. So we'll start here. Oh yes, this is beautiful. That's the right color. So Alizarin Crimson. We're pretty close to that shade, I think. So if you have Alizarin Crimson, you wouldn't have to mix your own with the Geranium and the Ultramarine, which I do have, but it's buried in the paint box, and you can see what the paint box looks like. There's a lot. Not that I couldn't find it because I love it, but here is how to mix your paints. It's wonderful. Learning what you've got and how they combine too is a fun exercise, you know, because you take ultramarine and you take carmine and you think, oh, it's red and blue, we'll make purple. You make mud. Because the ultramarine has certain undertones and carmine and geranium have certain undertones, and if I'd added any more blue, any more ultramarine to this geranium here, it may not have come out this lovely mauve. It may have come out, it just turned brown and gross, and we don't like brown and gross. Purple is one of the harder colors to mix and get right also, so that's annoying at best. So that's why I bought Iris. Iris purple is, if you are in Malagentia, this is your Malagentian purple right here. Gorgeous, perfect. Mix it with white and you get lavender, and that's a happy color too. All right, we've got just a bit of this your East Kingdom, you know, not just Malagentia. Dragon Dormant has lovely purple. That's the background of lovely gold squamifer, and trying to think of what other East. There aren't many purple in the East. I know Callantyre has purple. And there's some awards in other kingdoms that involve a purple. I think the Mid has the purple fret. So purple's not a common heraldic color, but it is out there, so it's nice to have. And I like purple, so I'm going to have it and I'm going to put it on stuff. So that's just the way it is. Okay, got the nice shadows and curls up here. A little shark fin coming off the top. And the shadow coming in, try not to run over the green leaf tip, which was so nice. So gold blindness is a thing, and it comes from staring at this beautiful reflective gold background for too long. So if you find yourself not being able to focus after doing a lot of gilding, step back and take a break, because you can actually damage your eyes if you stare at the shiny too much. Just changing the angle sometimes helps too, and I have to do that when I'm painting around it, because otherwise I'll run right over it or miss bits. So pay attention when you're gilding and working with gold, that you don't do the bad thing, because that's sad. We don't want that. Let's see, one last curl, get that in there, like so. Like that there. all the way down to the bottom. Nice smooth shadow. I'll come and fill in with the lighter color here in a bit. All right. Get one more little blob of white mixed in. So this is another where we do have 3 shades. Get the white, not too much. More than that though. There we go. Here's a nice medium lavender mauve. And since it's on the brush, we'll make our lightest pinky mauve. Yes, dark blind, gold blind, everything blind. It's amazing anybody was able to do anything. Yeah, huh? We'll work on the candle thing. Not tonight. Not tonight. I don't do the scribing by candlelight thing, though it's very romantic and, you know, much closer to period. I am gonna stick with the modern materials for a little bit. Because it's art, and I like to make art. I don't need to suffer for my art. And you don't want to suffer for my art either, so keep the lights on. You know, suffering for your art's a thing, but life is too short. Yes, good plan. I have often good plans, I think. I think. Other people may not think. We'll see. So here we are filling in with the medium, and then we see, you know, you can see the internal leaf structure starting to come out again. With the highlight and the shadow. And this is a little bit more subtle than the flame red was, but I think we're getting the proper layering effect here with the multiple colors and shades. And hopefully, I don't know, tell me, is it less intimidating seeing it broken down like this? I hope so. Because we've done, you know, so far we've done late period stuff, all 4 sessions. And I know that, you know, the more detailed something is and the more complex it looks, it's like, oh gosh, I could never do that. Hopefully, taking it apart and being able to watch it go from a blank piece of paper to a finished little bookmark thing has helped and hopefully made it less intimidating. And I want you all to say, hey, I can do art just like that. So is it helping? I think it's helping. I hope it's helping. because nobody's showing pictures of their bookmarks, and I'm sad. Well, Audrey has. Audrey's gone nuts with her black work, or her black hours, and it's fabulous and well done, apprentice. Doing bookmarks all over the place, and it's great. But when we all come out of quarantine on the other side of this, you know, we're going to have some amazing art for some amazing people once we can all see each other. Mixing, layering. Good. I wasn't an art major either. I wanted to be, but then figured out that maybe you can't really make a living doing art, at least not in the way you want to. But good. I am glad we try to make it less scary. I was able to take one art class in the entirety of my high school and college careers. Very frustrating. And it was second semester of my senior year of college. So I really, that was it. If I wasn't going to get in, there was no art for me. And that's where I discovered a love of charcoals, which are super fun. And I don't get to play with those nearly as often as I'd like. So maybe we'll work on that too. Yes. Well, we have, once we can get classes going again or anything, or maybe we can do a drop. You live in the same town as I do. I can get you shiny art supplies if you want to start doing shiny art. Or at least colorful art. Okay, almost there. Lightest shade of the mauvey, reddish, pinky. We'll figure out a color name for this here. Pink. We'll call it pink. Ooh, no, bad artist. It's mauve. Get the highlight in on our final set of leaves, and then on to white work, where it will all come together. The fun thing about Acanthus too, typically, and I'm sure we can find exceptions to this rule, they're not outlined. So once you're done with it, you're done, which is also satisfying. Because outlining sometimes, that's what takes sometimes almost as long as painting the rest of the scroll, depending on what you've got to line. But for finishing, makes it all come together. There. Okay. We may do some blending on the page here also, which is a benefit of using the gouache that they did not have in period, where they had the egg tempera, and once it was on the page, that was it. But with gouache being rewettable, we can fudge it sometimes. There's our highlight there. And swirl. And there we are. There's kind of the everything but the white work, which will have our special brush. Oh, I'm missing things on the chat. Oh, that is all Twig. That is all my husband. He's the video guy. I just paint things, and you should see the setup we have here. It's ridiculous, this tripod thing and everything, but he knows how to drive Twitch, so I let him drive, and I just paint, and he makes it all look beautiful. And it's wonderful. I couldn't do it without him, literally. Literally. So I'm just taking a wet brush here, slightly damp, and blending just a little bit to kind of break up the hard edge on the last color I put in here, just because the contrast between the lightest and the medium are a bit more extreme than some. Oh, there we go. Here's the behind the scenes view. Hopefully the living room's not a total mess. But I think this is both of our pandemic working from home. Well, one of us is working from home hobby, occupy the brain session. I paint, he videotapes. So there's just a little bit of blending on the page to soften the edge here. And now, put away the big brush, and rinse it out later. Get the, actually I'm gonna get Dr. P.H. Martin out here. Get the magic white ink. All done with color. Shake it up. Okay, Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It made me enjoy white work again because white work is difficult and frustrating if you don't have the right consistency of paint. Oh, and of course we can't get it open. Oh no! Dr. Martin. Right, in addition to being the videographer, he has stronger hands than I do. Don't spill it. Hey, there we go, perfect. See? Thank you. I couldn't do it without you. So there we go. Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. Get all the little details here now. I might switch brushes because this is a 10-0 Princeton Select liner. It has nice long bristles and doesn't hold a whole lot of paint, which is not convenient at all. That one's a mess too. What is going on with my brushes here? I think that's mustard. I doubt it's mustard. It's probably not mustard. But I'm going to compare this to, this is a 10-0 low Cornell liner. Same size, different brands. The bristle length on the low Cornell is shorter, and even though it's a 10-0, it actually looks like it's a little bit thinner than the Princeton. So there's no consistency on brushes, not really, I think. So don't worry too much about numbers. Find the one you like and go with it. That's my thing. So now we'll get the magic happening. I'll move the tablet in a little closer so I can see it without having to go everywhere. I did thin the ink just a little bit. It seems that I just don't like the way things come out straight out of the jar. So put a little bit on. Now we've got a couple different things happening with the white work here. There's the dots, little outline dots that accentuates kind of the midrib of the acanthus leaf itself, and then we've got the little tadpole looking things, which that's just what they've chosen to do for white work on this, and I guess that's really only two. So, but we'll start with the dots. Make sure the ink is working properly. Yeah, little tadpole looking things, and there's also little triangle looking things. And sometimes we have to try a few different brushes to get one that behaves with the ink properly. That may be a multiple brush night. Let's see here. Yeah, this one, that doesn't want to work. Maybe we'll go back to, oh, here we go. So this is a 20-0 liner. Again, a Princeton Select Petite. It's got the short handle. So looking at the 20-0 and the 10-0, there's not a whole lot of difference in bristle length. And this is even within the same brand. So I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what we get here for ink flow. And this is where the crying happens, if there's going to be crying, because it will blob. Oh, there we go, though. We're getting good dots. And sometimes it dries out. But the nice thing about Dr. Martin here is it's always opaque. One of the frustrations I get with trying to do white work with gouache sometimes is if it's not mixed exactly right, and see, even if it is mixed exactly right sometimes, I think it just doesn't want to behave, and you get inconsistencies and translucency, and you can see your ground through it, and that's not what we want with the white work. We want nice bright white. And Dr. Martin, he comes through for me. He's very good. What? It's the materials. You need good materials. You can't do good scribal work with crap materials. So throw out your Reeves and buy whole bean. Or at least try it. And you'll be less frustrated, I hope. Because all the student grade gouaches or things like Artist Loft, you know, that they're inexpensive, but they just don't, pigments are sometimes not ground as finely. And it just doesn't, they don't flow right, and you end up getting frustrated. Some people can get Reeves to work beautifully, and I think they're magical, and I'm confused. Yeah, when you put it on, it's great, and then it dries, and so part of that is, again, pigment size. So when it's all suspended in the water, when the pigment's suspended in the water, you get the magnifying effect of the water, and it kind of helps blend it together. And then when the water dries, you're left with sprinkled pigment powder everywhere. So that, I think, is what happens with the semi-transparency, and it drives me bananas. But again, we go with the white ink, with good old Dr. Martin here. I'm not paid advertising, I swear. It's just really good stuff. and, but it has definitely improved my outlook on white work. So we do the nice line and then kind of come in with the blob. And the detail work often, again, is where the time comes in, but it's so worth it in the end. In here. Being able to zoom in on the source too is great when you're doing the finish work like this, because you could see all the weird little random dots and dribbles they put everywhere. And you can, you don't have to put every single mark in that the original artist did, but I find the closer you can get to putting every little mark on the paper, the more right it looks. And that's always cool, You look at it and go, hey, that's all right. I made something medieval looking, or Renaissance, or just old and cool. And that's why we do this, because it's fun and cool. All the little swirls in here. The one downside to Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white here is that it does tend to dry on the brush. So you'll get chunky bits, which is why I'm rinsing so often. But it also comes in a jar that you probably won't ever use in your whole lifetime of Scribal, so I don't worry too much about what I'm rinsing off the brush. So you want to keep it flowing as smoothly as possible so you can get the nice long smooth lines. Consistency is key on this. Get your swirls all good, all swirly. And it's spring and the tadpoles are coming out, so I'm painting little tadpoles on everything. This is perfect. All the frogs. All the frogs everywhere. Hopefully everybody has peepers, because we love the peepers and the wood frogs. I'm just glad to see things green and growing again. It's a nice thing. there's all kinds of interesting details here. Sometimes they, oh, I think I just painted where they, oh, yep. So, interesting thing about the source, the gold is flaking off in places, and I just painted white spot where the gold flaked off. So it's a good thing we keep some of our paint, because we'll go back and fix that. Maybe. Maybe I won't. Maybe I like how it looks. Maybe I've improved on this 600-year-old manuscript. Who knows? We'll go back and fix it. You can always paint over. And you can definitely paint over the ink also, even though it's ink, it'll still, gouache will cover it without any trouble. No trouble. So many peepers, yay! Hey Andrea, hooray! Nice to see you. Are you ready for the snow out there in New York this weekend? I'm hoping we don't get it. But who knows? Anything could happen. It's May. It's May. How is it May? I planted my peas and they're not up yet, so I'm not worried about the peas and the lettuce. They'll be fine. They're cold crops. It's not time for tomatoes yet. They will come. Okay, let me get a little line on the green. This will be interesting to see, because again, we only had two shades of the green. So as long as we line up the white work properly, we'll have happy little leaves. I know the white, that's what finishes it, and it's really stunning. You know, when you get it just right. Oh, I got one little bloop down here. There we go. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. It'll all be fine. And if it's not going to be fine, then we're just going to cry and accept that we live in New England and the weather is insane. Yeah. Yes. Oh, the frogs will have a plan, and I hope the black flies don't, because they're terrible. So many black flies. No, the frogs, they will burrow into the mud at the bottom of the pond, just like they have been, and be grumpy. Grumpy frogs. And then they'll come back out and sing and lay more gooey eggs. I found a lot of gooey eggs. It's wonderful. Happy frogs. Okay. Moving on to this crazy leaf setup up here. That there. More little dots, because we love the little dots. Dot, dot, dot. So the white is, that's the highlightiest of highlights. That's the brightest spot, the accent color, well, which is not a color technically, really. It's all the colors, right? No, that's but it helps guide your eye around to, it makes the leaf, it finishes the shape of everything. Finishes. Oh, our 2 days of summer. Yeah, no, not. Yeah, it is. May is definitely not summer. Even June doesn't feel like summer sometimes. And you know, I'd be perfectly happy 75 and sunny all summer long. I don't need it to be 90. It's not my thing. 75, light breeze, gentle wind, nice sun, few clouds. But I don't want to move to Southern California. I've heard that's what it's like in Southern California, but I like it here. I do need 4 seasons. I've determined that. Yeah, 65 and sunny is lovely. 75 though, you know, perfect. Perfect. That's pretty good. A couple more. Detail on the edge here. Okay, there's that crazy leaf. And now you can see it's got some more depth to it, which is so cool. The white just, it finishes it, makes it a piece. Get the dots here. Swirl. There's a song, Back to Maine, where the weather's not the same, California dreaming. Yes. And yes, sometimes I like living where the air hurts my face because we don't have giant snakes that come and knock on the door, or alligators, or whatever else. I can deal with a blizzard every now and then. Yes, true. Kitty number 2 is awake. He's been very needy. Let's see if we get feline assistance to finish this. I question the helpfulness of said feline assistance, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if he notices we're even here. Yeah, Washington, you must have been in Western Washington, because Eastern Washington is kind of like a desert. But yeah, you get 6 weeks of rain in the winter out in Seattle. I've got family out there. It's beautiful in the summer. I've never been out in the winter. I suspect I wouldn't like it as much. Oh, and the brush is starting to misbehave. There we go. But when the ink is flowing right, you can get such a nice little line. fine detail. And all of that. Okay, working our way to the top. It's interesting too. This piece, for whatever reason, I started at the bottom and worked my way up. Normally, I'll start at the top and work my way down. I couldn't tell you why I started at the bottom of this one. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So yeah, there's another, there's no, shouldn't be any hard and fast rule. No, you must start here and end here. Do what is comfortable and makes you happy in your art. Because if it doesn't make you happy, don't do it. Oh, Bainbridge Island is so pretty. And Vancouver, yes. Yes, we need to be able to travel again. Go see all the places. The midrib on this green one is sort of, I think its leaf is sort of folded in half, so there won't be any dots showing midrib, because there is no midrib. That's what the gold is for. That one on that side. And the Scribal kitty has arrived. Needy blue Siamese. Requires loves. Sometimes his help is not help, so also good to have a twig for a cat lap. Let's see. Here we go again. Slightly different drawn shape on the paper than the original source, so finding the middle is sometimes interesting. There's that. Yours will be beautiful, Gwen. You just, more practice, more practice. This is all a learning thing. And what you have done with old gouache and funny brushes that I saw from a few weeks ago was perfectly serviceable and quite lovely, in fact. So you keep doing what you are doing. Yes, we will have maybe paint nights and kitty petting, because Lord knows they don't get any attention here. We ignore them all day. Just ask. They will tell you. They will tell you the tale of woe and misery and no treats ever, ever. Okay, let's see. We are nearing the end of the white. Which is good because the brush keeps clogging. You wouldn't think a brush would clog, but there we are. One more, and swirl that around. Here. I think that about does it for the white work. We'll give that a rinse. Put the cap back on, never to be removed again, I'm sure. Okay, last step, and this one isn't strictly necessary, but I think for this one it will help really finish it. There's a thick black outline, so you'll need your ivory black or jet black, either one. I have ivory just because that's what came in my little starter kit 12.5 years ago, and it's what I've stuck with. And yes, no bad painters, bad brushes. So many bad brushes. Blame the equipment. It's never you. Gotta catch up on chat here. Yes, okay, kitty. Yes, Meezer. Yes, visit Meezers. Yes. Okay, so yes, we are doing the dark outline, and we'll do the wispy bits also. And if I weren't going to turn this into a bookmark, actually looking at the source here, I take back what I was going to say. I was going to say if we were looking at doing the book, not doing the bookmark, we'd continue the border across the top, which I think we can kind of nudge that over. There we go, we can see that now. So what I was thinking of doing was taking this little guy here and doing the funny little flower bud, but he'd look sort of out of place because there's nothing to connect him to, because we're not doing this other paisley swirl. So we're just going to do the black outline, and this one is a black outline. Oftentimes, you know, in this style and in Bar and Ivy, you have black outline. A lot of other illuminations, you're not going to get a solid black. It's going to be dark brown, just because of the nature of the paint. A black outline gives it a very cartoony sort of look, and we don't generally want to go for cartoony. We want to go for, you know, fairly realistic. So we have lovely, lovely black paint and a lovely black brush. And you could use your lining tool for this, but the source itself is not super strict. You know, it itself is a bit lumpy bumpy. So if you just use your hand as well as you can and be consistent on the outline. And you'll note also it is just the gold that is outlined. Where the acanthus leaves bump out on the pink here and the green, that does not get outlined. It's just the gold to accentuate the gold leaf. And it disappears towards the bottom because the black outline would typically have been done before the gold went down. I'm going to go straight across the bottom here because I cut the source itself off. What are we? Oh, yes. My paint rest is a cat. One of many. My second apprentice, Tiffan, made that for me. And it's wonderful, and it is my Scribal companion because it doesn't paw at my arm nearly as much as Blue does. But yes, it's a little blue, little blue tiger brush rest, and it's wonderful. So the paint doesn't really have a smell, so you may need to inspect your surroundings there. See what the cats have gotten into, and maybe they shouldn't have. But that's good. That's good, I think, with the realism we're going for here. You're really getting into the feel. It's the trip that's the fun part there, I think. Going mad. Once you're there, it's like, whatever. Okay, so the black outline's done. And now the wispy bits, and pulling the brush and ending at the point is the way to do that. And this is just sort of a crazy hair thing happening. To accentuate where all the leaves are coming out. Go up like so. It's almost like grass. Maybe we're adding grass to the leaves of grass. But it's wherever a leaf kind of pops out of the border is where you get those little grass tufts. So that's kind of fun. All right, so we won't do that at the bottom. The source, it breaks off slightly below the blue leaves at the bottom, and there's actually a curl that comes up from there, but it also has little tufts, right, coming up from the bottom corner. Like that. And then it's all up along the side here. And I think, my friends, we have a finished gilded Acanthus Leaves late Italian little bookmark here. Weird funky grass tufty accents and all. So yeah, gilded and tooled. Also, we've got the little dots in there. Yeah, this whole book, if you have a chance to look through the whole manuscript, they've got some crazy stuff in there. The page that I took this off of has some weird spotted guinea pig rabbit thing in the lower corner. And there's a crazy bird, couple different crazy birds, green and purple feathers. And it's just, there's some really neat stuff in the book, and it's all little bitty and it's great. So, yeah, pretty cool. And let me see, where else are we looking into? Making cats chopstick rests makes good. Yes, yes, I have a set of the 6 little sleeping cat chopstick rests. So those are fun. Let's see. And now we're talking about origami, which is good. Yay. Historical unclear animal life. Yes, there is so much historical unclear animal life. Let's see here. Is that better in view? We'll get, there we go. So this down in the corner here, we have a crazy weird bird with a wonderful hairstyle. And here's another crazy weird bird without the hairstyle. And here's the pig, rabbit, cheetah thing. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cute. Yeah, all the marginalia. Luttrell Salter is a really good one for all kinds of weird, crazy cryptids and made-up creatures. So we'll maybe take a look at that in a few weeks. Oh, zoom. Can we zoom? Zoom. There we go. Double zoom. So there's our weird pig thing. We'll go over. There's slightly less crazy bird, and I love this flower too. I mean, that's a fabulous flower there. And that is, so diverting from the crazy animals. Yeah, kind of hyena, but it's got a pig snout and bunny ears. I don't know. Going back to this awesome flower, in the middle we have but 2 shades of green. There's a dark green here and the lighter green and 6 white dots. And then the blue, there's only 2 shades of blue and a lot of white work. And then there's 2 shades of that mauvey pink and some white work, which is fabulous. And you can put little blue and pink flowers all over the place. Great. So going over, here's Crazy Bird number 3. It's sort of like I don't even know what it is, but I like her hair, and she's singing, and she's delightful. So, Lisbeth, you should paint. Yes, chickens. I was just going to say chicken snails and snickens, and then we have this crazy bird of paradise flamingo thing, and we'll do birds. A seal, not a pig. Okay, could be seal. Seal, bunny, cheetah. Yeah. There's all kinds of things. Yeah, so the bird, on this bird tummy, good texture. So we have, there is a dark red, there is a light red, or I guess that's pink. Then we have white, and then we have gold, and it is outlined in either black or dark gray. You know, if it's black, it's very, very thin outline, so it almost looks like a dark gray, and they've just done layering, and that's the beauty of egg tempera, you know, and gouache. You can mimic it with gouache, but sometimes gouache will, if you're not careful, it will re-wet itself and kind of do the blending thing, which is great unless you want it to, and then it never does it. But anyway. The jet black chicken was a cricket. Yes. Yes. Crows are amazing too. They're fun. They're fun. So yeah, I think we are. I think we're done for the evening. I successfully did not just spill paint all over the place, so that's a bonus. Yeah, any questions before we sign off? And if folks have, suggestions on what else you want to kind of dive into, let me know. Zip me an email or a message, or what does gold taste like? I don't know. There is edible gold. I have never edibled it myself. I suspect it doesn't have much of a taste. I'm not gonna lick it. You don't lick the scroll. But anyway, relevant questions. Good heavens. I have to start treating the scribes like I do the fencers. Oh man. Yes, that's the first lesson. Don't lick the scroll. Don't lick your brush either. Don't stick the brush in your mouth because it had paint on it at one point. Is black work a thing? Okay, fair point. Fair point. Yes, scribes and fencers, there's quite a bit of overlap, really. So black work, there's black work embroidery, which is a thing. If you're getting into ink work, that's a very late period. That's 1600s, and it's gorgeous. You get into Albrecht Dürer and his words are just going away. Printing, basically, is carved, and printed. And we can do ink work. I've done a map with, no, not too late, not too late. I've done maps. You can simulate the block printing with ink and crow quills. It is not my forte, but I have done it, and we can certainly do that. Fat Lobster 3301. I don't know who you are in real life, but I love the name. I do occasionally do calligraphy. It is not my favorite, and if we want a calligraphy lesson, I'm going to find a different teacher, because you don't want me to teach you how to do calligraphy. It will, you will be an adequate calligrapher, but you will never be a good calligrapher if you listen to me on that. So, but I do plan on doing like a tools session, possibly next week. I'll let everybody know, the stuff in a Scribal box, because I think we've got some people just starting out here, and there's things that are nice to have. Well, there's things you absolutely need. There's things that are nice to have. And then there's the really cool things that you really, really want if you're getting into it heavy, the really fun toys. Adequate is okay to start, absolutely. So, yeah, I think that pretty much does it for the evening here. If you followed along, or if you do this later in the week, I would love to see your projects. Post them on the Discord or on the Facebook. And that'll do it. Keep painting. Keep brushing things. Are you pointing at something, or are we just no? Okay. I think we are signing off for now. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we'll see you in a few weeks.